Texarkana Talk. I'm Vernicia Griffey, and today I'm here with Texarkana, Texas City Manager John Whitson. Nice to have you, Mr. Whitson.
Good morning, Vernicia, and good morning to our audience. Glad to be here.
Good. Okay, so John, you've been with the city of Texarkana for about a year now. Can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Sure. I did become the Texarkana, Texas City Manager on the 2nd of January 2003, so about 18 months now. And prior to that, I'm actually a Texas native. I was born in Borger, Texas, in the Panhandle. But my informative years, I was raised in southeast Oklahoma, about 2 hours from here. And then I served 24 years in the Army. And during that 24 years, I had a 3-year assignment at Red River Army Depot. So from 83 to 86, I was a resident of Texarkana, Texas. Our daughter was actually born here during that assignment at Wadley Regional Medical Center. After I retired from the Army in 1992, I became a city manager or a town manager in North Carolina, in Louisville, North Carolina, and was there for 11 years, and then became the town manager in Morrisville, North Carolina, in the Raleigh Metroplex area, and I was there for 9 years. Our daughter went to Oklahoma University, got her degree there, took a position in Tulsa, and so we decided that she wasn't coming back to North Carolina, so we would look for a job in Texas, Oklahoma area. And fortunately, the Texarkana position came open, and we talked about it, and would it be ironic if we went back to Texarkana? And so here we are, back to Texarkana. Both those towns in North Carolina that I managed were growing towns. They both grew from about 4,000 to 6,000 people to 20,000. And so I managed a growing community, expanding community services in those cases. Now I'm also a credentialed manager. International City and County Managers Association has a credentialing program that it's a voluntary program. Those of us that are in the profession and want to show our professionalism, we volunteer to be credentialed. You have to meet certain experience and education requirements, and then have a continuing education requirement that has to be met annually, and that's reviewed by one of our peers to certify that we've met our requirement. I'm also a member of the Texas City Management Association, and both ICMA and TCMA have strict code of conduct requirements, and if we're ever found to violate any of the tenets of the code, then the extreme measure would be expelled from the organization and publicly censured. So I hope that I bring to Texarkana a professional level of city management, and that's pretty much my quick background.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I want to dive right into our topic for today, which is kind of a bit of a civics lesson for all of us. I know Texarkana, Texas. Can you tell us how we run our business?
Sure. In local governments, and Texas certainly adheres to this, the citizens elect their representatives they elect the mayor, council members, commissioners, aldermen, whatever it may be in your particular community or the county, and those representatives then form the policy board that run the city. And in Texas, they do follow the council manager form of government. But for a long time in the United States, from the colonial days until well into the 20th century, the elected officials actually ran the daily business of the government. And what that led to over time was in large cities, like you may picture Chicago or New York City or Philadelphia, someplace like that, where political bosses ran the city. And so when someone was elected, it wasn't uncommon for them to hire their brothers and sisters and uncles and aunts to be employees of the city, or they earned lucrative contracts from the city. So it was kind of one of those, to the winner goes the spoils. And so over time, as the country matured, cities matured, the idea of city management came into being. And the first city to adopt the form of city management government was in Virginia. Stoughton, I think, was the name of the town. And shortly after that, Sumter, South Carolina, did the same thing. Well, Texas wasn't far behind, and so our first city to adopt the city manager form of government was Amarillo, and that was about 1913, I believe. And so it has grown. Here in Texas, it has grown to the point that it is the most popular form of local government in all the major cities. All but 2 in the state have this form of government, and that's Houston and Terrell. But all other major cities do follow the council manager form of government. And in that form, the elected officials still are elected, and they sit on the board. Then they hire one person, and that's me, the city manager. I, in turn, hire all the employees. They work for me, and I'm responsible for the day-to-day operations of the city government. And then hopefully over time, I'm also accepted as a learned, valued advisor to the council because I bring to the council 20-plus years experience of working with council members, working with communities, trying to figure out what citizens want and how they want it, and encourage people to participate in their government, and hopefully we form a well-oiled team. But so operationally, that's how that works. There are benefits of the the council manager form of government, and that it brings continuity. So the front office is not changing every time there's an election, and you don't have the whole board being replaced at one time with a staggered election pattern that we have. And hopefully that I bring a professional management not only to my office but all the department heads, and so they develop careers in that field. And so you don't have the brother-in-law running the public works department for the next couple of years, and then another uncle running it the next couple of years. So it does bring that continuity and that professionalism to the city's government and the services we provide, at least.
Okay, so I've heard you refer to Texarkana as a home rule city. What does that mean?
Yes, a number of states do provide for home rule, Texas being one. There's not that many states that use that form. In many states, the cities and the counties have to follow the rules that the state sets. And so when I was in North Carolina, for example, that was known as a Dillon's Rule state, and we didn't have home rule there. So every city was equal, and they had the same authority as any other city. And you look to the state statutes to find your authorities. Well, in Texas, around the time that they introduced the council manager form of government, they also introduced legislation to allow for home rule. And so the citizens can choose to adopt a city charter, and so basically write their own rules of how to operate. Now, over time, those city charters have eroded somewhat in that the state has adopted state statutes, and now the state law says you can have home rule only to the extent that you don't conflict with a state law. And so we do have to follow state law as well. But in some aspects, we can self-rule, and that's what home rule is all about.
Okay, well, you mentioned that the council has the power to change the rules for the city, which brings me to my next question. How can citizens have their voice heard if there's an issue or a topic that really affects them?
Sure. In local government, it's probably the government that's closest to the people. You don't pick up the phone and call your president of the country, or you may not call the governor, but you certainly can call the mayor. And he's your mayor. He's right here, he or she. And you can certainly pick up the phone, call the mayor. You can call a council member,